Our family originated from Germany, and they moved from Germany and decided to come out to the United States. So they went from Germany to England, from England to New York, and from New York they went into Texas. And they went ahead and worked with a promoter and tried to purchase land before they came. And they were basically a group of German families that came over, were basically swindled out of their properties. So we went ahead and rented some property and doing some farming to make a living, which was very challenging at that time, and hot and humid in Texas as it is every summer. And they heard about Chino, California, where there's an opportunity to come out. So they went from there out across New Mexico, Arizona, across the desert into Chino, California, where there was a sugar beet production area. And they heard about the Oxnard area being developed for sugar beets by the Oxnard brothers. So they went ahead and came on horse and wagon and down the back of the canal grade where the Challenge University is now on Patero Road, came down there with a horse and wagon and settled into the Oxnard area. So originally they were not farmers. They dealt with a lot of masonry work, stone work, and then they came out this direction. Listening to my uncle Robert and my dad talk, and the other uncles and cousins, is, there was a lot of artesian conditions at the time, even where the Port Hueneme is now. And then they realized as everything was being developed by the sugar beet factory, they developed with a lot of economy coming in with that business. You had employment skyrocketing, you had railroad expansion, you had road expansion. At that time, everything was a lot of steamboats, steam engines at that time for thrashing the beans and so forth. And then eventually everything moved into the tractors and the cars and the vehicles and trucks. So you started with basically a lot of horses. And at that time, a 30-year acreage was for pasture and growing food for the horses and the animals that you'd have. And today it's just the opposite. There's in the Oxnard area, there's basically no wasted space. If you look at the change of crops and the dynamics within the Oxnard Plain and the Ventura County, you went from basically an agricultural area that started off with beets and then moved into beans and then other crops, including citrus. And then you went through different economies. You went through the Depression era, you went through World War I, World War II, and that's where a lot of the military came into our area during the World War II. So you have the Air Force Base, the Navy base, the Seabee base coming in, and so you had a lot of influx of non-agricultural folks, but it was all made the county what it is today. I think the fun story about the Naumanns and other families that came into the area during that time, whether it was the Mulharts or McGraths or Donlands, was the fact that it was known for the area having the 3 B's: beets, beans, and babies. So originally the area started off with the sugar beet area, and that made the soil stronger and better. And from there it moved into the bean production area. And to make it all work, every family had a lot of babies to make sure they had plenty of workers and family to take care of things. So that was kind of the fun part of the Oxnard story. We had a beautiful climate. We have great water supply. We have a lot of resources, even including the oil industry within Ventura County. So it kind of put us on the map. Even during the Depression, when there was a lot of citrus in the area, lemons were a big supply because they'd harvest the lemons and ship them back to New York and Chicago for fresh lemonade. So those were things that made the economy in this area really take off. I'm a graduate of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and I worked for 9 years for Pito Seed Company here locally that developed and bred different varieties of seeds. And at one point, the family said, if you're going to come back, now's a good time to come back, because if not, we're going to go the other direction. So at that point, I stepped back in to help the family business. I got a call 26 years ago to see if I had an interest to serve on the United Board. One of the board members, Donnie Laubacher, was relocating out of the district, and they needed to appoint somebody to take his position. So I came in and interviewed for the position with the other board members of the time, including Joe Terry, and and at that time Fred Jenke, which was our general manager, and Dan Pinkerton. And so at that, when I got done with that interview that night on the way home, they called me and they said, hey, we're going to appoint you, so come to our next meeting. And by the way, we'll give you a tour of the district, and here's a lot of material to read to get you ready for the next board meeting. Tremendous learning experience watching the different challenges the district started with, maintaining water supply, getting the Freeman diversion working, versus getting bulldozers out in the river to divert the water to harvest it, to where we are now with a lot of environmental requirements and updates that we have to do at the lake and the dam and other facilities. The high intensity crops that we can grow here and the water management that we've done with those crops, from furrow irrigation to sprinklers to drip irrigation to mini sprinklers, from row crops to citrus and avocados and other tree crops. You see a tremendous change in how things are operated, how they're managed, and to get the same production or more production off the same amount of acreage. And then at the same time blending that in with the growth of the cities and the bases and the industry within Ventura County. If you look at the Freeman diversion that we've put in place, it definitely is a great structure to have, because in 1995 and other wet years, we were able to push back seawater intrusion and get artesian conditions. So it's just a water quantity issue that we have, because we have a great resource to put the water back in the ground. If you look at the things we're challenged with now just for licensing and getting take permits, we've been at it with millions of dollars, tremendous staff that we have here at United, plus consultants and outside folks to help us, and it's still not accomplished after 15 plus years and millions of dollars. The challenges we have that we're facing going forward, and we've been facing it for the last 10 to 12, 15 years, is the regulatory side, the environmental side, the perception issue versus the factual issues of what our river's all about, what the species are truly about. And so it's more challenging to get things accomplished. If you go back to the 50s and 60s, the challenge was to get those structures in place to make the process work. Today, just to get the same type of structures takes 10 to 15 years to get it done, because you have to do the studies, you have to get public impact, you have to review the environmental side, and then plus all the regulations, plus all the different agencies that we deal with, state, local, and federal agencies. Outreach locally from all the cities and the bases and the water districts, the ag folks. They understand that we can't continue the growth that every business and city needs to have without water, without infrastructure to make it work. So there's not one city, not one water agency or district that I know that's out there in Ventura County that doesn't recognize that and realize to help move water around, we have to work together. The value of common sense, but doing the right thing, and leave the politics out of the process, leave personalities out of it. But it's the people behind the buildings, whether it's United, whether it's the city of Oxnard, Camarillo, Ventura, and other cities, Port Hueneme, or even the bases. It's not the name on the facility sometimes, but it's the people within those facilities that make things happen. United, we stand stronger together. United will get more resources and more recognition to get the real results that we need to have. We need to have water. We need to capture it, use it wisely several times over, whether it's recycled water, whether it's desalters, whether it's irrigation water reused. And also we need to continue as much water recharge as we can off the Santa Clara River and other surface water areas, whether it's off with Camarillo Water District and other folks that have water available. Everybody realizes how precious a resource and asset is. And without that, our life is going to change tremendously.